far and wide-reaching ramifications of Syria and us getting involved in a military strike there.
Yeah, so this morning we're talking it right now with Stephen Rogers. He's a former U.S. Naval Intelligence Officer, and Jennifer Trahan, who is the Associate Professor with NYU Center for Global Affairs. So thank you both, of course, for joining us in this very important topic. Stephen, let's start with you. Should the U.S. actually be going into Syria? This is kind of a double-edged sword. If they go in, they're facing ramifications. If they don't, they're also facing ramifications.
Look, we have no choice because of the president's remarks about a red line. But the question that I have, and I'm sure many have, is you have the Arab League and you have Turkey, for example, cheerleading, edging the Americans to go in and do this. Turkey has 400,000 ground troops. They have 1,000 battle tanks. Where are they? The fact of the matter is that because of the president's remark regarding a red line, we're going to have to go in and do something. But let me add this. A limited strike will do nothing. And I know the American people don't want to hear this, but minus ground troops. I don't think anyone wants to send ground troops in. You need a shock and awe. You have to take the regime out. You have to destroy the military infrastructure, or the message we're sending to the rest of the world is that we're a toothless tiger.
But if we don't go in, then we're losing allies.
We're not only losing allies, if we don't go in, we've given the signal to nations such as Iran and Syria, of course, to do more gas attacks. So we have no choice but to go in. But if we go in, we either go in with everything we've got, do what we have to do, and leave.
But that creates an incredible amount of damage when you talk about the rest of the citizenry in Syria. You've got 7 million people who've been displaced during this civil war. What kinds of casualties do we talk about when we have a shock and awe approach like this?
Well, keep in mind, in Iraq, the casualties, the collateral damage was limited. We have the technology to put missiles in a window, so it would be very minimal. But look at what's going to happen to Israel if we don't do this the right way. Let's talk about Israeli casualties. We're talking about Iran attacking Israel. And God knows what's going to happen here. Are there cells here ready to let loose on the United States? If we do this, we've got to do it with the idea that we win it.
And Jennifer, is there any chance that legally that this can go forward at this point in time? We are in a very tenuous place at the moment.
We are indeed. I mean, right now we're talking about whether Congress is going to authorize it. Right. Of course, that's as a matter of domestic law. We also have to worry about law at the international level. And we know the UN Security Council resolution that we would like to see is not forthcoming.
They say there's still doing an investigation. How long can this investigation take?
I don't have a precise sense of that, but what we would like to see is if there's a use of force, that it would have Security Council approval. If it isn't, then we get in the debatable area of humanitarian intervention. Is this what it would be? Would it meet the required legal requirements? And do we have support for this? Because we are then in a legal gray area whether this is allowable.
When you're saying investigation, there's the idea of sarin gas being used. So of course, this whole investigation is going to be looking into whether or not sarin gas was actually used. Stephen, President Obama is receiving criticism for a slow reaction. Of course, he's waiting for congressional leadership to come into play, but that won't happen until September 9th. Is this the wrong approach by waiting until September 9th?
It's a horrendous approach. While the president and Congress today are having barbecues and playing golf, Assad is moving all of his assets, all of his chemical weapons. They are preparing not only for a defensive war, but they're preparing for an offensive war. Peter King, Representative Peter King said last week we should have hit them last week and hit them hard. We didn't, and now we're going to find ourselves in a very, very tough situation.
All right, we will see how all this plays out. Jennifer and Stephen, thank you so much for joining us this morning with your insight.
And we're going to continue our coverage online at pix11.com and on our 5 p.m. broadcast as well.